All right, everybody, welcome to Fantasy Football Live, Week 15 with the Fantasy Sports Boss. Here we are, Fantasy Football playoff time. Last night, the Seattle Seahawks against the San Francisco 49ers. Another scary, dominant effort by the 49ers. George Kittle explodes for 25 points. Christian McCaffrey explodes for 25 points. Tyler Lockett breaks a finger. He could be out for the rest of the season or as little as a week. We have a snowstorm in Buffalo. We have 3 games tomorrow, including that Buffalo-Miami game to get to. So a lot going on. Of course, the injury report is as jam-packed as ever. We've already gotten some clarity on some big-name quarterbacks that have already been ruled out for tomorrow. And, for me personally, like I share with you guys every step of the way, one of my teams has a bye this week as a number 2 seed. The other started playing yesterday. And I was going against I had the unfortunate luck of going against George Kittle, who scored 25 points, and Brock Purdy looks like he's been here for 10 years. So, I already did the video this morning wrapping up that game, so no need to go through it again. But I'm really starting to think now my initial pick of San Francisco coming out of the NFC work out after all, whether it's Brock Purdy or whether it's Jimmy Garoppolo. This defense, you're starting to get, for those who are old enough, you're starting to get a Baltimore Ravens Trent Dilfer vibe from this San Francisco 49ers team. Of course, that Ravens team had an all-time defense and a very middling quarterback in Trent Dilfer. Brock Purdy right now is actually playing great. There's always, I've heard a lot today, Kyle Shanahan schemed. He still has to make the throws. And the 2 touchdown passes to Kittle, were very impressive passes. And, he, again, has to make those throws, and he did. And the 49ers right now are running roughshod over everybody who they play week in, week out. I told you to not play Geno Smith for that reason. When he's forced to throw a lot, the numbers aren't going to be pretty. Only 1 touchdown pass, no interceptions, which was good. But it was an ugly outing for Seattle, who now will not have Tyler Lockett next week. Pete Carroll said he could return soon, but of course that's Pete Carroll doing Pete Carroll things in terms of the injury report. Always hard to trust Pete Carroll, whatever he says there in terms of Lockett or any of his other players. So again, hit the subscribe, hit that notification button. Already we got our first super chat from Joe Castles, $4.99. Thank you, Joe. Looks like Strong is going to get some good touches this week. Do you like him in flex? I don't. And here's the thing. Ramondre Stevenson actually got in some work today at practice. Damian Harris is going to be a factor. I don't like the fact that there could be, 2 other backs involved. Now, Stevenson, I still think it's going to be tough for him to play. But Joe, I really don't like Strong. I think what's going to happen here is they're just going to spread the football around to whoever's available, whether it's Damian Harris, Strong, the other kid, Kevin Harris, I believe is his name. So I don't like him this week. And really, I don't like any New England Patriots player. I know Jacoby Myers also returned to practice, which was good. But I'm not playing any New England Patriots players with the stakes being as high as they are. Joe, again, thank you for that super chat. I really appreciate that. All right, George Cook wants to know that Higgins practice report today didn't ease my mind at all. Yeah, you know what? There was a lot of, and NBC Sports Edge wrote this perfectly. They said there was a lot of trauma for T. Higgins owners last week, and I was one of them. It cost me the number 1 seed in my league that I got the first round bye. Now you can say, okay, you still got the first round bye, but it's now put me in a position where in the next round, I could play the hottest team in my league who's outscored everybody, even though he's the 4th seed. So not a good situation there. T. Higgins, it's tough to trust him, but you have to put him out there if you do own T. Higgins. He's just too good, and that offense is just too good not to have him out there. 19 points combined from Walker and Jason Myers last night. Can't even be banned at that. Yeah, listen, for Walker, and I saw this on Twitter. I think it was like 11 points and change for Walker. Somebody correctly said that it was the type of point total that was good enough for both sides. In other words, those who said you should play him were saying, C, you should have played him. Those who said sit him said, C, you should have sit him. He only scored 12 points. So it was kind of in the middle there. But I tell you, Brock Purdy looks good. He really does look good. All right, so just updating the Patriots situation. Ramondre Stevenson, Damian Harris are both questionable, and so is Josh Jacobs. But again, Josh Jacobs plays every week. I'm not too worried about him. Did Aaron Jones fully practice? Trevor, I'm going through it now. I'm not sure, but I'm not worried about him because he did return to practice earlier this week. I think he's going to be good to go. I had Myers and Walker last night too, 20.9. Not bad. Yeah, not bad at all. Not bad for sure. Connor LaRose, 1 running back, 1 flex, 1 wide receiver. Swift, ETN, Higgins, DPI, Gabe Davis, Rashad White. I'm definitely not going Gabe Davis in that snowstorm. That's for sure. So, and the chat's going a little fast tonight, guys. So I figured it was going to be a busy chat tonight with the stakes being as high as they are. So you need one running. I can't go Swift against the Jets. I know ETN's been bad, but again, I said in that video earlier this week, it's all hands on deck with Jacksonville Dallas. So I got to go ETN there. And I'm going to go DPJ over Higgins just because we don't know what Higgins' situation is. And as far as the flex, I would go Rachaad White. So, I'm very leery about Higgins. I'm not sure if he's going to be on a snap count. It's after what happened last week, we can't assume anything with Zach Taylor, who I think is a little bit full of himself when it comes to the injury report and tries to play a little loose with it. So, fantasy football BAM, that's his attitude of it. So, I am very nervous about T. Higgins. Someone dropped P. Ryan today. Should I pick him up? And is he playable over Mike Evans? He's not playable over either one, George. The only reason why you're picking up P. Ryan is as a handcuff. And at this point in the season, don't waste your time with handcuffs. That's why I'm not doing handcuff videos anymore, because we're in the playoffs. You really just have to – there's no sense holding handcuffs unless you have the actual lead running back. So, for example, if you have Mixon, then yes, I would pick up P. Ryan. But I'm not going to waste any bench spots on handcuff guys at this point. Happy Friday, Justin, to you too. Traylon Burks is rolled out. How do we feel about Chig Okonkwo? Same deals last week. I like him very much as the tight end, certainly even as a flex. 18 fantasy points last week, a touchdown. I believe he had a carry as well, and a 2-point conversion. They're going to use him all over the place again. I would use him liberally wherever available because, the Titans found something there, and they're going to keep going back to the well. Bench Garrett Wilson for Chris Moore. No cooks and terrified of Zach. I guess you could. It's hard. It's hard to bench Garrett Wilson, even though Zach Wilson completely sucks. A fan of Chris. I know Chris Moore balled out last week, but I think Nico Collins might be playing this week. I'm not sure. But I could see it. I mean, listen, at this point, it's balls to the wall. You got to just make the hard choices and stick with it. So, Gerard, I can understand that thought process with Moore. Everett, I didn't really answer the question. I still would go with Garrett Wilson over Moore. Everett or Okonkwo, Joe. I would go with Okonkwo now that the situation the way it is now in Tennessee, because he can be the number one target, whereas Everett's not going to be the number one target. He's probably the fourth target with the Chargers there. So let me go through this some of these injuries. So let's see. All right. So we talked about, we don't need to know. So Nico Collins has been ruled out. So I changed my mind there. So with no Brandon Cooks and Collins, then I would start Moore over Garrett Wilson. So Trevor Lawrence is questionable with a toe, but he's going to play. No issue there. Wants to know Swift, Dobbins, Brian Robinson, Foreman, Marquise Brown. I need 2. I'm going Brian Robinson definitely. And I would say Swift because he'll catch the football. Marquise Brown sick, and he's got Colt McCoy. I'm not a big fan of him, and Foreman's getting pushed from Chuba Hubbard. Let's go. Anti-Slayer, let's go. Yes, absolutely. Here we go. Fantasy playoffs. ETN or Jamal Williams? I'm going to go ETN for the same reason I've said all week. Dallas against Jacksonville is going to be a lot of points. I like holding handcuffs like Madison Pierre. Yeah, I mean, listen, if it's a high-end handcuff, Lex, I agree. Those are 2 high-end handcuffs, for sure. But if it's like a lower-end handcuff, then I wouldn't do that. Would you sit Waddle for either Zay Jones? Yes, I would sit him for Zay Jones. It's going to snow like crazy in that. And I'll chat weather before I leave today. Duvernay, pick 2 for PPR. Barkley, ETN, Montgomery, and Foreman, the first 2. Barkley and ETN. I'm still sticking with ETN. All right, so we all know Lamar Jackson's been rolled out. No surprise there. Russell Wilson has been rolled out with a concussion, so Brett Rippon's going to be in there with no Cortland Sutton. Jerry Jeudy, he had a huge game last week. He did catch a touchdown pass from Brett Rippon, so I would use Jeudy as a wide receiver 3 and not expecting anything more than that. And whatever, if he does go beyond wide receiver 3 numbers, and that's a nice bonus for sure. Mecole Hardman will not be activated, so no need to get him back in there. We talked about Russell Wilson. Kenneth Walker was sore today from Seattle. He's fine. Kadarius Toney is questionable for the Chiefs. No need to even bother there. Let's see. All right, so Chase Claypool. Say it does not. Okay, so Chase Claypool has been rolled out already for Chicago. So, it's an interesting call here with Justin Fields. This is a very tough Eagles defense. They do struggle, though, against rushing quarterbacks. They're one of the bottom 12 teams in the league. Matthew Berry, who pointed this out today. defending against running quarterbacks. So you're playing Fields. I'm playing Fields over, even if I had Lamar Jackson against Atlanta, I would consider it a healthy Lamar, though you do play over Atlanta for sure. I picked up Andy Dalton just in case, but I'm going Fields. I'm going to live and die with him. Waddle's been so bad, Chris, over the last month. I wouldn't go with him. All right, we got a $4.99 super chat from Palumsky. Thank you, Palumsky. I appreciate that. Start 2 wide receiver, 2 running back. Higgins, Watson, D-Hop, Ari Cooper, Montgomery, Cook, Kamara, James Cook. All right, so let me take these one at a time here. So as far as the 2 wideouts, I'm going DeAndre Hopkins. Even though Colt McCoy is in there, if you remember when they played the Rams, McCoy liberally threw at D-Hop throughout the course of that game. He had something like 8 or 9 catches, scored a touchdown. That was against Jalen Ramsey. So I'm definitely going D-Hop. Christian Watson, you have to play him. He's been so good and scoring every week. I'm playing him as well. I would shy away from Cooper because he's got the hip injury, and Higgins, not sure about his status either. For the 2 running backs, Montgomery, Cook. If you mean Dalvin, yeah, all right, I see you have James Cook there too. All right, so I would go Montgomery. That's a tough matchup against the Eagles. I would go Cook and Kamara. I mean, Kamara's got the Atlanta Falcons. If he can't do it against the Atlanta Falcons, then you can live and die with that one. That's the right call. Kamara versus Montgomery is not even a decision in my point. The Eagles are very good at defending the run, so I'm not playing Montgomery. I'm going Cook and Kamara. I know Dalvin Cook hasn't been great. Definitely not playing James Cook after the dud last week. So Palumsky, and thank you for that super chat. I really, you guys have been very generous with those lately. I never asked for it, but it's always appreciated. Thank you for that. It's been a real help for the show. Yeah, just keep firing whatever other questions you have. Dulcich plays Arizona, which is a great matchup. Yes, but can he get the football consistently, Duvernay? That's the issue I have there. Also Evan Ingram or Greg Dulcich. Ingram having a tough game, but Dulcich not having Russell Wilson. I'm playing Evan Ingram every time. The rest of the season for sure. Should I stick with Dallas D or pick someone off the waivers? Options include Packers D versus Rams. I like that matchup. Panthers D versus Pitt. Denver D versus Arizona. And Browns D versus Baltimore. Those are all good matchups, honestly. I like Denver's D against Colt McCoy. I think that's a good one. I think that's one I would pick up. Pick one at flex. Hubbard, White, Patterson, McKinnon. I got to go Rachaad White. I don't think expecting McKinnon to have a game like that for the second week in a row is just not going to happen. And they're playing the Texans, so they really don't need him, Joe. So I would go Rachaad White, who's been good. He's been double digits pretty much every week over the last month. Tyler Huntley and Deshaun Watson. Oh, man, I'm leaning my boy Huntley as a Ravens fan. Both seem like horrible options, but I think it'll be a low-scoring game. Yeah, I mean, you got to think that Watson's the light bulb's going to go on now that he's worked off the rust. But he hasn't been good. I respect you as a Ravens fan going Huntley, but I still would go Watson. That's my opinion. But it's not a bad choice if you went Huntley. AJ Dillon, Fournette, or Singletary. I'm going Singletary. I know it's going to snow, but there's going to be a lot of rushing attempts, whereas James Cook, who I said no to earlier, really needs the passing, receptions to make hay in fantasy. I think Singletary is going to get a lot of work in this game. Singletary, bad weather, or Garrett Wilson, bad QB. I got to go Singletary. I can't play with Russell Wilson. I just can't. Got Lamar on the bench, and I feel about Watson. It's a good thought. Yeah, Watson is supremely talented. There's no doubt about it. But it's just taking a little longer than I thought to work off the rust, like I said. All right, so Justin Fields was sick. He does not have an injury designation. He's not playing. So if you own Cole Kmet, I would play him everywhere. For Fields, there's a lot of pressure on him to supply rushing yardage in this game because he's been over 60 yards rushing, I think, in 4 or 5 straight games. He's not going to be able to throw much on this Eagles defense with those 2 stud cornerbacks, but he's going to be able to run it because I said the Eagles are bottom 12 in the NFL defending against running quarterbacks. So I think there is an opportunity for Fields to put up some points, and also the game script. So the Bears are going to be trailing. Fields is going to have to throw in the second half. Opportunity for garbage time points. It all counts the same no matter when it happens. All right, Kenny Pickett is doubtful. So he's going to make a decision with Mitch Trubisky, but it seems like he's going to go with Mason Rudolph because the locker room is kind of revolting against Mitch Trubisky. I think they've had it with him. So it looks like that it's going to be, Mason Rudolph, who has shown that he likes to throw to Deontay Johnson in the past when he's gotten an opportunity to play. Deontay Johnson's banged up himself, but as a wide receiver 3, and that's how far he's fallen this year in fantasy football. I think it's worth using him. So Jakobi Meyers got back on the field with the concussion. He's so damn tempting just because of the PPR aspect of his game. And, especially earlier in the season, he was quite good. And then the injuries started to pile up. I'm not really using him as anything more than a flex. Ramondre Stevenson practiced today. So that was interesting to me. He's got the ankle injury. I didn't expect that. Did he get enough work in, though? That's the thing. I don't think so. He was limited. So I don't think Stevenson's going to play. And then we're looking at Damian Harris, who also is questionable, but I think he will play, handling the majority of the carries. Pierre Strong would probably get what's left over. None of those guys are enticing options for me. If Stevenson plays, of course, you play Ramondre Stevenson. And really, the kind of a slow finish for Stevenson and getting hurt, this will make his price tag more affordable next season. I'm all over Ramondre Stevenson as a second-round pick after I take my white out in round 1. Hey, Grind Don't Stop, how are you? That's okay, man. We just started about 15 minutes ago. Hope you'll be able to make it home. Yes, I plan on being here for a little bit. Are you that high in Ingram over Dulcich? Only who's going to play Dulcich matchup and having ETN. I'm hoping he gets the touchdown. I'm not trying to root for. Listen, Duvernay, there's going to be 1 million passes thrown in this Dallas-Jacksonville game. The over-under is 48. There's immense talent for both quarterbacks. There's immense receiving talent. The Jacksonville defense is not great. Dallas defense last week was not great against Houston of all teams. So I still think you go Ingram for sure. And look at what he did last week. I mean, I know asking him to repeat that is probably it is foolhardy. It's not going to be repeated what his output last week, but he's still good for 5 catches for 60 yards and a touchdown. So, which at tight end is really good. Daniel Bellinger. With the rib injury, he is questionable. Again, if you're in a really deep league, that's the only point that you'd be interested in Daniel Bellinger. Cortland Sutton's been ruled out, as we said. All right, so Boyd and Higgins Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins are questionable. So, but Zach Taylor said that they're both going to play. So take that for what you will. When it comes to T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd's been a bust all season. Whenever, when he got the opportunity, he dropped it, unlike Josh Palmer, who balled out when Mike Williams and Keenan Allen missed time for the Chargers there. So, T. Higgins, I think you have to play him, unless you have alternatives and good alternatives. Like some of the people that asked me earlier in the chat, they had some good alternatives, and then I would look elsewhere. But there is a high chance of getting re-injured for sure. And you don't know what Zach Taylor, if there's going to be a snap count, because you can't really trust him. All right, so we know that Mike White, and I'm here in New York and listening to Local Talk Radio today, there is a lot of anger among Jets fans on Local Talk Radio, WFAN, which is the prime sports talk channel here in New York. The anger is not having Joe Flacco as the backup. Joe Flacco played really well the first couple of weeks of the season. I know he had the fumble last week. I know he's completely immobile, but he can still throw the football. Unlike Zach Wilson, who really can't do anything other than not take accountability for himself and bang moms. That's the only thing that Zach Wilson has really been good at this season. So, the thing too with Mike White is he hasn't proven durability. He got hurt last year against Indianapolis after the big outing against Cincinnati. He's hurt again this year. As much as we laud White's accuracy, delivering a good football, standing in the pocket, he's holding the ball too long. He's taking big hits and he's suffering injuries. So if Mike White wants to make this job his own, he's got to figure out a way to avoid these big hits and avoid the big injury. Because now, let's just say through some sort of Christmas miracle or holiday miracle that Zach Wilson has a good game. Let's say he has a big game, and against Detroit, it is entirely possible given how bad that defense is. Would they want Zach Wilson to play again next week? I mean, the coaching staff here and the GM are both wed to Zach Wilson. They don't want to have egg on their face for blowing the number 2 overall draft pick. So would they put Zach Wilson out there again next week? And it's entirely possible Wilson is going to play next week because they play Thursday night against the Jaguars. That is a quick turnaround. If Mike White has internal organ damage, which is the rumor right now, along with those fractured ribs, he may not play next week as well. So I've already spoken about Garrett Wilson, drops from a high-end wide receiver 2 to a low-end wide receiver 3. Elijah Moore goes from a flex to not being useful at all. Zonovan Knight I'm not worried about because I think the volume will still be there, whether it's carries, catches out of the backfield and whatnot. So I'm not so worried about that. But there is a lot of debate here about whether or not Joe Flacco should have been made the backup for this game because the Jets are right there. I've said this before. This is a Super Bowl made team going forward, as long as they figure out the quarterback position. You have a stud defensive tackle in Keenan Williams. You have 2 stud cornerbacks in Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed. You have tremendous skill positions, players at the wide receiver position. Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall would have fought each other for the offensive rookie of the year. They have the defensive rookie of the year. They have Elijah Vera Tucker, who's an all-pro type player on the offensive line. There's ability here all over. This team has arrived. They absolutely have arrived. They just need to figure out the quarterback. Jerick McKinnon or J.K. Dobbins, half. I'm going to go with Dobbins. He looked good last week. I know he's still limping around a little bit, but he's got the explosion back. And again, I'm not going to go back to the well with Jerick McKinnon, especially against the Houston Texans. They're going to blow them blow their doors off. Absolutely Watson for sure because he scores touchdowns every week. All right, so DJ Moore is questionable. This is a downgrade. He was limited Friday. He was a full participant in practice earlier in the week. And DJ Moore, who didn't have a catch, I believe, last week, this Carolina offense is doing everything they can to prevent Sam Darnold from losing games, just like the Jets have done with Zach Wilson. So even if you own DJ Moore, you just can't play the guy because there's no reason to. He's not even really a part of the offense right now. They're just going to run it, and then maybe throw the occasional pass with Sam Darnold. All right, Hollywood Brown is back. Return to practice today. He was sick. Just a one-day absence for him. Now, the issue I have with Hollywood Brown is this. Colt McCoy, and I said earlier in the show, Colt McCoy has the habit of locking into DeAndre Hopkins like he did earlier this season against the Rams, and as opposed to Hollywood Brown. And we saw that last week when McCoy came in. Hollywood Brown was a complete non-factor in that game. DeAndre Hopkins had 7 catches for 70-something yards. He did lose a fumble that took a couple of points away. But, McCoy always seems to look DeAndre Hopkins' way. So I think Hopkins will remain a wide receiver 2. He drops from a 1 to a 2 with Kyler Murray out for the season. And Hollywood Brown becomes a wide receiver 3. My QB situation is a disaster. Lamar is out. Same. 2 is unstartable. Yes, in that snowstorm. And Mike White was just ruled out. Oh, my God. Would you pick up Daniel Jones or Tyler Huntley? I would go Daniel Jones. This is a bad Commanders secondary. Jones has a history of playing well, L. against the Commanders. He does. His legs are good. He can run the football. I know the offensive weapons on the Giants are terrible, but I've seen him play really well against the team multiple times in the past. I would go Daniel Jones in this one. All right. So what else? Let me just see. Kenny Pickett, we talked about him. We don't really care about. So Joe Burrow. I wanted to talk about this today. So Jimmy Johnson, the former Cowboys head coach, I just finished his book. So that, first of all, it was a fantastic book. Like Jimmy Johnson, really respect him tremendously. Just one of the best coaches in the game of football, period. National championships at Miami, 2 Super Bowls with Dallas. Ego got in the way, him and Jerry Jones, of breaking up that partnership. But he said something, he's got an eye for talent, obviously, Jimmy Johnson, be as successful as he has been. He had put in the book, towards the end of the book, about why we, the state of the NFL today, that we just keep getting the quarterback position wrong when it comes to the draft. He said over the last 10 years, the quarterback that looked the best to him coming into the draft was Joe Burrow. And that's saying a lot, some of the other guys that have come out. And I believe it. Joe Burrow is just ready-made for the NFL as soon as he came in. He's got the head for the game. Nothing. He's unflappable. He's accurate. He can move. He's a leader. Guys want to play with him. Like, this is the guy, Joe Burrow, who Jimmy Johnson felt was the best quarterback prospect to come out in the last 10, 15 years. So, and you know what? The results have kind of backed that up so far. So I thought that was really good. Hey, guys, if you want to buy yourself a Christmas present or ask, if your wife wants to know what you want, That is a great book. If you're into reading the Jimmy Johnson autobiography, that was a great book. I totally recommend that. He is fascinating to me. I always was fascinated with Jimmy Johnson. Yeah, I would roll with Daniel Jones. Flex 1, Bam Knight, Tony Pollard, Foreman, definitely Pollard. That's not even a question, Chris, for me. Jeffrey Lee, hey boss. Hey Jeffrey, how you doing? Half PPR. Jameson Williams or Gabe Davis. Oh, that's a bad choice. I mean, Jameson Williams against those Jets defenders is tough. And then you have Gabe Davis in the blizzard. How about I say neither? I would say Gabe Davis just because Jameson Williams is behind like 3 other guys in the hierarchy. Even though I don't really like Gabe Davis either. Running backs, Jamal Williams or Samaje Perine. I would go Williams. Quarterback Deshaun. So definitely. What are some of the other things? Aiden Hutchinson, we don't really need to know that unless you play defensive players. All right, Corey Davis was ruled out. So the Jets are really beat up. They are absolutely beat up for this game. Now, I wanted to check out the weather report now for Buffalo. So, you know what? It's going to be a fun game to watch, definitely. And I love the Saturday football. I love it. This time of the year, it's great. I think that we have some good games. The Buffalo game against Miami is going to be really good. Now, you're not playing Tua Tagovailoa. You're not playing Waddle. You are playing Tyreek Hill because they're going to throw the ball to him right at the line of scrimmage and have him create. That's what he's done really well throughout the course of his career. And you can't not have him in there. So there's still a lake effect snow warning for Buffalo starting tonight. So tonight in Buffalo, this is the updated report. Rain and snow becoming all snow after 11 p.m. 1 to 3 inches possible. Tomorrow, snow in Buffalo. Snow could be heavy at times. New snow accumulation, 6 to 10 inches possible. Holy shit. Sunday night, snow before 10 p.m. So that game starts at 15. So snow before 10 p.m. Then snow showers between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. New snow accumulation 3 inches. So, and the wind's not horrible, 15 mile per hour winds. So that's the one saving grace tomorrow night is that the winds in Buffalo are not horrendous, but there's going to be a lot of snow. And, throwing the ball in the snow is never easy, especially when you have a quarterback in Josh Allen who's got, not an elbow that's not 100%. So, but it's going to be fun. Like I always love snow games. I remember a number of years ago, LaShawn McCoy with Buffalo rushed for like 150 yards. I believe it was against the Colts in like a driving blizzard. But this is the deal with Josh Allen. I've said this a million times. When you draft him, there's going to be one game each year where they're going to have to deal with the snow and the wind and the lake effect snows and all that goes with it. And that's what you have this week, right in the heart of the fantasy football playoffs. And listen, next week, the weather is supposed to be really dicey again in the Northeast, right in time for Christmas. So, it could happen again next week as well. William Winslow, Lions can score 30 plus, still trust Jets D. There's no King Williams, which is going to hurt the Jets defense, but the rest of that defense is legit. I don't think. And here's the thing, William. Jared Goff's touchdown interception ratio on the road this year, 2-7. 2 touchdowns, 7 picks. All the rest of his numbers have come at home. So he does not play well on the road. He doesn't play well in cold weather environments. Jets defense is a very good play this week. Should I drop Eli Moore for Jameson Williams? Yeah, I would. I mean, we all saw how Elijah Moore literally did nothing when Zach Wilson was under center. So, Grind, I definitely would do that. Would you play Lions defense this week? Yes. Oh, I definitely would play the Lions defense this week. You just simply can't trust Zach Wilson. That's the bottom line. You can't trust Zach Wilson. He's just not a good player. He's really not. And I think Joe Douglas, the GM there, the Jets, is just hesitant to completely cut bait on him. And I think it's trickling down to Robert Saleh as well. With the pressure to play him because blowing a number 2 overall draft pick on a quarterback is embarrassing. Now, Douglas has made tremendous picks. Last year's draft for the Jets might have been one of the best drafts I've seen in years. Like, that's how good it was. They ended up with Breece Hall, Sauce Gardner, Jermaine Johnson, Garrett Wilson. They've got these studs. It reminds me, too, of Dallas. When Dallas first, that dynasty started, that they started collecting all these guys from the draft who turned out to be perennial Pro Bowlers. That's where the Jets are right now, and it pains me to say that as a Giants fan here in New York. But they are legit. They're good. They are set up. Right, Steve? Hey, boss. How we doing, Steve? Flex ETN, Brian Robinson, or Waddle? I would flex Brian Robinson. The Giants defense is terrible. So I would definitely flex Brian Robinson, who had a good game last time that the that the Commanders played the Giants there. So that's what I would do there. But yeah, you know what? Like, it's bad timing with Zach Wilson, and maybe he's learned something. I mean, maybe he's got maybe the light bulb finally went on. I just don't see it, though. I was not a fan of him coming out of the draft. Went to BYU, not a lot of competition there. 1-year starter, not refined at all. And, I think that we're starting to see the issues that he's bringing to the table now. Mike Evans is not playing well. Waddle in the snow. I'm getting a lot of Waddle questions. I know everybody's very down on Jalen Waddle, and I get it. He's physically beat up too. He's been on the injury report the last couple of weeks. He's not 100% healthy, talking about Jalen Waddle, and so it's hard to play him. Throw in the fact that there's going to be a snowstorm now in Buffalo. I'm not too keen on playing him. So, tomorrow, by the way, I didn't do the fantasy cast this week because I had a Christmas concert for one of my kids I had to go to. Parenting comes first, right? So did not do the live stream, but I'm thinking I'm going to do it tomorrow night for that Bills-Dolphins game. All right, Jonas Barry with a $4.99 super chat. Thank you, Jonas. Love the content, boss. Finally able to join a live chat. Oh, well, welcome. I'm glad you're here. And yes, we've been chatting on the message board. I remember you. Flex 1, Rachaad White, Pittman, or Chris Moore if the other Houston wide receiver don't play. Well, Cooks and Nico Collins are both not playing. So Moore is there as a viable option. This is a tough one. They're all kind of comparable to me, but I'm probably going to go Rachaad White because he can not only run the football, but he can catch it. I don't trust Matt Ryan with Michael Pittman, and Chris Moore is definitely not doing what he did last week. He's not doing that again this week. I highly doubt it, Jonas. So I would go Rachaad White. I think he's the better play. I think he's got the highest expected points too out of all three guys. I'm playing, just so you know, like as far as my recommendation, I'm playing Rachaad White myself. His expected fantasy points is 12.5. Cincinnati's defense is okay. It's not great, and he can catch the football. Now, I know he's splitting time with Leonard Fournette, but Michael Pittman has been, pretty darn bad this season. Even with Matt Ryan, he's flashed a little bit. And Chris Moore, you don't really want to have anybody on the Texans. One Texans player, though, that I do like is Jeff Driscoll, because he's in Yahoo leagues, at least, because he's got that tight end eligibility. And Jonas, again, thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate that. It does help with the show. Thank you so much. And good talking with you finally on the chat. I know we've been going back and forth on the message boards, and that's the thing too, guys. You can always fire up on the message boards. I always get back to you as soon as I can. So make sure you do that as well. Start Engram or Njoku. I would still go Engram. I know Njoku's been really good, but again, I think the shootout aspect, Steve, of this game against the Dallas Cowboys, I'm going Engram, and especially off of the game he had last week. Why not go back to the well on that again? He's become a very trusted safety valve for Trevor Lawrence, and I think he's certainly worth using in this game with the highest over-under of the week. Now, as far as tomorrow, that sounds like a good idea. Let me just see. I know I have a Christmas thing I have to go to in the afternoon, but I will be home for tomorrow evening. And the best part of it is, so my wife's got a girls' Friendsgiving, Christmas, whatever, girls' night out thing at one of her friends' house. So I got the TV all to myself tomorrow. It's going to be great. So I think that's a perfect opportunity for me to come on here and do the Buffalo Miami cast there. So first game is Indianapolis and Minnesota, 1:00. Minnesota should blow them out. I can't see Indianapolis even being competitive in this one. Baltimore, Cleveland, it's a good game. I'm looking forward to seeing that. That's at 4:30. So I'm more likely going to jump in and do the Miami Buffalo fantasy cast tomorrow. So let's go with that. So look for the notification. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Look for the notification tomorrow. It's either going to be that Baltimore Cleveland game or the Buffalo Miami game. I think it would be fun to watch the Bills Dolphins in the snow tomorrow. So that's probably going to be the live fantasy cast tomorrow. So, but anyway, yeah. So, I mean, Indianapolis, Minnesota, the Vikings don't stop anybody. But again, I can't really get too excited about Matt Ryan. let me just take a look at Michael Pittman because I know Jonas just asked me about it. His expected fantasy points are 13, so it's more than Rachaad White. He only went for 3 against Dallas, 19 against Pittsburgh. You know what, Jonas? I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to say you go Michael Pittman instead of Rachaad White. Just because Minnesota doesn't stop anybody. So they're the absolute worst team in the NFL stopping the pass. We saw what Detroit did to them last week. All the guys on Detroit kind of went off with, Josh Reynolds and DJ Chark. So I think you got to play Michael Pittman. I think there's going to be a lot of passing in this game. Matt Ryan is starting. So I would say go with Michael Pittman. Now watch, Rachaad White goes for like 30 points and then you never jump on the show ever again. I wouldn't blame you. But it's really just a coin toss between the two. But I guess I would go Pittman just because now, I forgot that they were playing Minnesota. So I would trust Pittman now against Minnesota just because how god awful the Vikings have been defending the pass this season. So that's my answer. So Josh Jacobs, let's see, he's listed as questionable. Yeah, it's always a gamble. You see, and the whole game is a gamble, let's face it. But I do like Pittman against the Vikings, I have to say. And the fact that Leonard Fournette is taking half the work from Rachaad White, at least we know Pittman will be out there on every offensive play. So I would go Pittman. Josh Jacobs has a quad injury and he's got a hand injury. He's questionable. He did practice for a limited time on Friday. He's had a good week. We've been smart about him, according to Josh McDaniels. Looks like he's going to be able to handle that. So it looks like Josh Jacobs is going to be out there, and we still got to confirm it as we do with guys that are questionable. But Josh McDaniels has no shame right now in terms of just running him into the ground. It's as simple as that. Carlitos Way, Flex Pittman, Olave, or Brian Robinson. See, now in this situation, I'm going Brian Robinson because the Giants don't stop anyone either, and Robinson can catch and run the football as well. So I would go Brian Robinson. Definitely. And the Buccaneers, to piggyback again off of that question that Jonas asked me, they're not really running the ball well at all. So, but at least not Michael Pittman, Brian Robinson is running really well. And I'm very interested in Brian Robinson for next season. If he didn't have that unfortunate incident that took place in the preseason, I think he would have had a much bigger year. And in turn would have been more expensive next season. So if I could start my draft next year with Justin Jefferson or another top receiver, and then round 2, Ramondre Stevenson, and maybe round 3, Brian Robinson could make it to round 3. That's great. And then round 4, get my dual threat quarterback. Wanted to say I should drop Eli Moore for Chris Moore. Yeah, I would do that. There's no reason to hold Elijah Moore anymore. No, not with Zach Wilson starting, who's the worst quarterback in the NFL, in my opinion. Dulcich, Kmet, or Okonkwo. Okonkwo, Kmet, Dulcich in that order. I'm definitely going Okonkwo. You have to. With no Treylon Burks, and that was a really serious concussion that he suffered. That was a scary hit. I remember I watched that game as it happened, and it was a cheap shot too. But luckily, it was a concussion which is serious enough. And that's another thing. There's been a lot of concussions in the NFL this season, and it seems like every week is just guy after guy going down with a concussion. It's very frightening if you really think about it, how many of these guys could have some issues later in life with all these concussions. Hey, Carlo, how you doing? What's up, bro? I have Knight at my flex. Should I still keep him there or pivot to Elijah Moore? No, I would keep him in there. I'm not worried about Bam Knight. The Zach Wilson promotion, if you will, doesn't impact Bam Knight that much. It really doesn't. They're probably even going to run him even more with Wilson being under center. Thoughts on Chris Moore? Unsustainable, Carlo, in terms of last week. Unsustainable. But they need to throw to somebody, and that's the guy they're going to throw to. So just on volume alone, and they're going to have to play catch-up against the Chiefs there, I think he's going to get a decent amount of targets. Is Aaron Jones playing Monday? I have him as well. Yeah, I haven't seen anything on Aaron Jones, and I should because I'm an Aaron Jones owner. Let me just take a look here. Hey, boss, best of luck to you this week. I have a tough matchups, decisions, and this is the first week of the playoffs. Yes, I'm with you on that one, Jim. Start 1, Goff against the Jets, Lawrence against the Cowboys, and Daniel Jones against Trevor Lawrence, easy, 100%. Jared Goff, Jim, on the road, 2 touchdown passes, 7 interceptions this season. At home, it's like 20 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So you don't start Jared Goff on the road ever. Trevor Lawrence against Dallas, tons of points. Daniel Jones has no one to throw to, and you're really just kind of banking on him running, which is a dicey thing to depend on in fantasy playoffs. So I wouldn't play Daniel Jones. All right, let me read what they got here on Aaron Jones. Yeah, he was limited for Thursday. Well, that was Thursday, so I haven't seen an update. Ankle is a new issue for a player who'd been listed with shin and glute issues, but the limited day keeps him on track to play coming off the Packers bye. Jones can continue to be treated as a low-end running back one. So, yeah, you know what? Damn it. Now I got to actually make sure I have somebody. Well, I have Allen Lazard. So if Jones doesn't play, I have Jones right now in the flex position. So if he doesn't play, I'll just simply put Allen Lazard in there. But I think it'll be, and that's the thing too with Aaron Jones. It's annoying. I love Aaron Jones. You all know, yeah, glute, right, Carlo? He's a pain in the ass. That's what's annoying with Aaron Jones. As good of a player as he is, his hard charging style, and he runs upright, leads to a lot of big hits and a lot of injuries that start to pile up with him. Hope you do good in the playoffs. I'm ready for next season. Oh, Rain, yeah, I hope I do well too. It didn't start out good watching George Kittle run all over the field. I'm 25 points down already with one player in. It totally flipped the projection of the matchup as well. But it's early, and I beat the same team in my 7-6 league. I'm playing in the playoffs this week. The team I'm playing this week, I destroyed last week, like absolutely destroyed them. We have a rematch this week. I'm 2-0 against them already this season, so we'll see what happens. Huntley or Ritter? Definitely not Ritter, Derry. Huntley's got ability. I know he didn't really show it last week. He had the concussion, but Huntley's got ability. He's one of the better backups, so I would absolutely go Huntley. Ritter in his first start could go a million different directions. I'm not interested to find out in the fantasy playoffs. SWA, I'm stressed with my flex position. I have Garrett Wilson, Judy, Kamara. Yeah, all attached to bad quarterbacks available to start. And then I've got Dulcich and Joku Frymuth to choose from tight end. Dulcich still on waivers. Okay. This isn't so bad. Kamara against the Falcons. Yes. So you're going to play Alvin Kamara. And then at tight end, you got to go in Joku. You know, Frymuth's banged up. Dulcich with Brett Rippon, no thank you. So I think you're going to go in Joku, who scored last week. He's been very good almost every game this season that he's played. So SWA, go in Joku, go Alvin Kamara. It might be tough to trust Kamara, but the Falcons' run defense is pathetic. Goff or Brady? You got Chris, you got to go Brady. You got to go Brady. I know Tampa Bay has been rough to watch too, but yeah, you're welcome, SWA. I know it's been tough watching Tampa Bay, but I gave you that stat on the road. Goff is terrible. And he's got to face Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed. That is a terrible assignment for a quarterback. It's too early. It'll be good. Yeah, I mean, it's early. You're right. But you just hate to see right out of the gate falling behind by 25 points with the tight end of all players, you know. Full PPR start 3. Christian Kirk. Yes, I'm starting him. DJ Moore. Nope. Allen Lazard, Judy Foreman, DJ Chark. I'd have to say Kirk and Foreman. And don't look now, but the Carolina Panthers could still win that division. They're only a game behind Tampa Bay. So I'm going Foreman because he gets a lot of work, and definitely Christian Kirk in this PPR-fueled game against Dallas. I don't like DJ Chark. He's going to have to deal with the outside corners on the Jets. You could go Judy. Let me switch that, Jim. I would go Judy and Kirk because I forgot you said PPR, and Foreman's not a PPR running back. So I would go Kirk and Judy because Judy's still going to get a lot of targets in this game. Really bummed Wilson is starting. I was stashing Eli Moore for 2 weeks. Yeah, you might as well just drop him, Carlo. There's no reason to hold on to him now. My 2 running backs are Mixon and Jacobs. Yeah, that looks good to me, Jim. Corey's out. Yep. Yeah, Carlo. It's already been rough in the week. It hasn't even started. I went again Kittle as well. Andrews better do something. Yeah, Andrews. I said it would happen last week. It didn't happen. I know Huntley got banged up. Let's give it one more week. It's never an issue with talent with Mark Andrews. I just think he's banged up, and we'll find out at the end of the year he's going to need like some kind of surgery or something. You're welcome, Chris. All right, last question. Pat Freiermuth or Okonkwo? Okonkwo, 100%. 100%, definitely. Freiermuth's got more target competition. Okonkwo doesn't. Remember, I gave you guys Okonkwo last week. I was very proud of that. Okonkwo was awesome. Oh, next week, by the way, if you're a Travis Kelce owner, guess what team he's playing in the fantasy semifinals? The Seattle Seahawks, who just got singed to death by George Kittle. So Travis Kelce, I have him in my league that I have a bye. Really looking forward to that matchup. What about next week? No, Eli Moore is not going to be useful next week either, Carlo. White won't come back. He's definitely, I don't know if he's coming back for Thursday for sure. But I'm not playing Elijah Moore in either one of those situations. Huntley's playing. I guess I'm rolling with Andrews again. I picked up Okonkwo. Well, listen, Rise, I think you have a decision to make there. Andrews on paper is the automatic pick, but I really would consider going Okonkwo there. I'm not kidding either. Like, there's only so long you could wait for your studs to show up. And in the fantasy playoffs, you got to make tough choices. And I'm thinking I would go Okonkwo over Mark Andrews. I really do. And it's going to be very run heavy with Baltimore again. They're not going to throw it much. So I would go with Okonkwo if that were my team. Full PPR, Kirk or Peoples-Jones? Tough call. I say Kirk. Last week, Zay Jones went nuts because the Titans defended the slot receivers well, not the outside receivers. Dallas, on the other hand, struggles with slot receivers, so that's going to hurt them with Christian Kirk. I think Christian Kirk can have a decent game against Dallas because, Dallas struggles defending the slot. That's where Kirk operates. Zay Jones on the outside. And listen, Zay Jones had a rough start to his NFL career with Buffalo. He's been really good with Jacksonville. And next season, with Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, and if they re-sign him, Evan Engram with Travis Etienne, holy cow. Trevor Lawrence is going to put up 40 touchdowns next year. And I can see it now already. The hype train is growing. It's going to be out of control next August. Trevor Lawrence this, Trevor Lawrence that. And I love Trevor Lawrence as much as anybody. I've been ahead of the game on him from day one. Thought he was the best prospect since Andrew Luck at the quarterback position. I had that in print when I put out the draft guide a couple of years ago when he came out. I'm in on this offense next season. Totally in on this offense for sure. You're right, because Burks is out sometimes. Yeah, they have to. They have to target him. They absolutely have to. I'm on Calvin Ridley next year. Yeah, I am too. I think it was very unfair what they did to him. I know that the gambling thing is a major problem. I think they came down a little hard on him. With gambling being illegal. Being legal. Excuse me, I can't talk today. Being legal. This is not the first time that what happened with Ridley is going to happen. Somebody else is going to get caught up in this. It's way too tempting. It's on phones. I don't do any gambling. I don't do any of this DraftKings, FanDuel stuff because it's just too accessible, and I'm afraid I'll like it too much that I'll get in trouble with it. So I don't even start getting involved with it. But I just thought it was unfair what they did to Calvin Ridley. Goddard or Mark Andrews? If Goddard plays, I'm on Goddard. I had Ridley last year that killed me, but back on him again. Yeah, that was crazy. That was absolutely crazy with Ridley. Listen, he is a wide receiver one for sure, and you could probably get him in the 4th round next year. So that is insane value. So I'm already finagling in my head taking Jefferson, Adams, or Diggs in round 1, Ramondre Stevenson in round 2, Brian Robinson in round 3, and how about what's his name? Ridley in round 4. That looks good to me. And then in round 5, Justin Fields, right? That's a pretty good team right there. If only it would be that easy to just draw it up like that. Pierce, Burks, injury hurting me. Yeah, that's a tough one. Flex, Palmer, nope. Driscoll, Eli Moore, or Chuba. I gotta go Driscoll. I gotta go Driscoll. They're gonna be doing a lot of stuff with him. As they did last week. He had 11 fantasy points. Palmer's useless, so is Moore. Chuba, maybe, but I would go Driscoll. I'd shoot for the moon at Driscoll. I think they put him in pretty much on every red zone possession, red zone snap, Carlo, last week. I'm in a bad situation, boy. It seems like everybody's in the same boat. Kyler Murray went down, and my backup Mike White is out. Who should I pick up at QB? Matt Ryan, Ritter, or Zach Wilson? Matt Ryan. Against Minnesota, I have to go Matt Ryan. Minnesota doesn't stop anybody in the passing game, Rico. So while it's scary to pick him up, every quarterback has gone nuts against Minnesota this season, so I would pick him up. Round 4, Ridley, big steal, man. Yeah, if that's where he ends up. Sort of out of sight, out of mind with Ridley. He's been gone for so long that people kind of forget about him. But I think he'll be there for sure. I like it risky. Yeah, you gotta be risky at this time of the year, Carlo. Start 2 PPR: Barkley, Godwin, Pacheco. First 2, Chaka. Godwin, Barkley, they say is 100% now, so we'll see. You're welcome, Rico. Foreman or Rachaad White, running back 2. I'm going Rachaad White. I'm definitely going to go Rachaad White there for sure. Yeah, so, so Brian Robinson of the Commanders, next year, guys, we're going to have Bijan Robinson from Texas, and I can see it now. Somebody is going to take him at the end of the first round. This guy, I'm sure you've already heard of him, coming out of Texas in the draft, to me, might be the most talented player in the draft besides Will Anderson, the pass rusher from Alabama there. I think Bijan Robinson is going to be a fantasy monster. Reminds me of Chris Johnson. Has blazing speed, really catch the football. He's going to be really good, and he's very fantasy friendly. So just like, Clyde Edwards-Helaire of all people went at the end of round 1 that year when Damian Williams opted out. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who sucks, this guy is in a whole nother ballpark in terms of prospect status. Bijan Robinson of Texas. Anybody who's seen this guy play, you're already instantly flashing ahead to fantasy football. If he doesn't go late first round, that might be a little reaching a little too much, but I think he's definitely going to go somewhere in round 2. And that's how crazy the hype will be. Mark my words right now. Bijan Robinson is going to be the most talked about player going into drafts next season. You're welcome, Rise. I thought on Justin Fields or Eagles, should I play Dalton instead? I'm in the same situation. I'm going Fields. I picked up Dalton because Fields was sick early in the week. I'm going Fields just because of the rushing side of things. And I gave you the stat earlier. I don't know if you heard it, Grind, but the Eagles are bottom 12 in the NFL defending against mobile quarterbacks. They've given up the 12th most yardage on the ground to opposing quarterbacks. So that's why I'm playing Fields. And the script of this game is going to have Fields playing in garbage time and throwing a lot of passes to try to catch up, maybe against some replacement level defenders on the Eagles. So I'm going Fields. I'm not trusting Andy Dalton to win a playoff game. I'd rather lose a playoff game with my best players than guys who really shouldn't even be in there. Barkley or Kamara? I'm still going Barkley. They say he's 100%, Chris, so I'm going to go Barkley. But it's close because Kamara has Atlanta. But, man, Kamara's look even worse than Barkley. Brian Robinson will be a thing for sure. Yeah, definitely. And he can catch the football, guys. I don't think Antonio Gibson's going to be with them next season. I think they're ready to move on from him. Bijan Robinson. And that's, you know what? I just made the mistake that everybody's going to make next year. Bijan Robinson, Brian Robinson. I looked at that really quick. Both Robinsons I'd love to have. I'm not paying the freight for Bijan Robinson, but Brian Robinson is going to be on a lot of my teams next year. Death Lord. Hey, bro, I benched Tyler Lockett last night. Finished with 13.8 fantasy points. Hopefully, Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, Aaron Jones, Tony Pollard, Josh Jacobs all finished out or above. Yeah, they should be there. Not sure about Aaron Jones. And Tyreek Hill in that snowstorm, I'm not sure about that, but the rest of them should be. Philly or Denver D? Tough call. I think Denver D is the better matchup. I think Philly, running quarterbacks give them a little bit of a problem. What do you think, Javonte Williams? So I don't think he's going to be ready for the start of the season. He's going to be on PUP. So probably 4th round, maybe 3rd round. And, coming off, listen, he tore a lot of, I think it was the MCL and the ACL. So it's going to be a more extensive return for him. I'm probably going to be out on Javonte Williams next season unless he comes really cheap. I don't like getting guys off such an extensive injury. Fields can get garbage time. Yes, for sure. Flex, Gabe Davis, Dylan, DJ Chark. Thank you. I can't go Dylan. And Aaron Jones is going to play, so I can't go Dylan. DJ Chark's got Sauce Gardner. Gabe Davis is in the snow. I'm going to have to go Gabe Davis because Miami's defense is horrendous. DJ Chark has to deal with Sauce Gardner or DJ Reed. So Holmes, I'm going to have to go Gabe Davis, even though it's going to be in the snow. Right, his MCL. So, yeah, it was a bad injury. Very bad injury for Javonte Williams. I'm going to be out on him next season. Thoughts on Tyler Lockett breaking his finger? He's going to be out at least one game, probably more, no matter what. Pete Carroll is always, sunshine and rainbows when it comes to injuries. But a broken finger receiver, that's a big deal. So I don't see Tyler Lockett making it back. Probably maybe in the fantasy championship, but that's it. I don't see him, contributing much the rest of the way. And that's a shame because I think he just fell short of 1,000 receiving yards. It would have been his 4th year in a row with 1,000 receiving yards. And again, it's crazy to think just how good Geno Smith has been this year, that he solidified and maintained the high-end fantasy value of not only DK Metcalf, but also Tyler Lockett, when we were all running from the hills to not draft either one of these guys. And listen, kudos for those who ignored that talk and drafted both of them, because they've both been tremendous. My playoffs in one league are weeks 15 and 16. We're not including either week 17 or 18. Yeah, there's been more talk about that, even not even having it in week 17, because more and more guys are being benched or playing, half the time and whatnot. I don't think, certainly the Eagles have nothing to play for. They're not going to play anybody that last week against the Giants. So anybody who has fantasy playoffs, and I know last stream I had somebody was in here saying that they had their championship in week 18, which is just ridiculous. You can't ever have a fantasy championship in the last week of the regular season. It just doesn't work. Considering all the players that are going to be benched. My opponent played Brandon Ayuk, finished with 3.9. Yeah, Brandon Ayuk is not a good fit right now for this offense. He's a big play guy, makes his hay down the field. Brock Purdy, that's not his game. I know he hit George Kittle on a couple of deep throws, but really Kittle was kind of wide open. So Brandon Ayuk, I knew this was going to be trouble for him. I wouldn't play him going forward. But listen, this San Francisco team is scary. Start one wide receiver in a flex. Olave, Watson, Barkley, or Bam Knight. That's a tough one. I'm going to have to go. Wow, they're all useful. All of those guys are useful. Barkley against the Commanders is tempting. I'm going to have to say Barkley for sure as the flex, and the wide receiver, Christian Watson. Olave's been very quiet. I know it's a good matchup against Atlanta, but Olave's been quiet, whereas Watson has been anything but quiet. He's the hottest receiver in football, and he will be a third-round pick next season for sure. George Kittle last night, would you say he had a better game than Christian McCaffrey? Listen, George Kittle, well, they both had 25 fantasy points, so I wouldn't say he had the better game, but, he was really good. I went against him in one of my leagues, so that sucked having to go against him in one of my leagues. But that's the thing too with Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey has totally justified his place as the number one pick for those who chose him instead of Jonathan Taylor. All right, so anybody who went with McCaffrey, that turned out to be the right move. I was in that position. I went Jonathan Taylor. Sorry, I'm just getting this stupid crap that keeps popping up. Sorry about that, guys. That's part of the deal sometimes when you do these streams, is you get this bullshit that pops up from time to time. So I'm just removing that now. Sorry about that distraction. So McCaffrey, that he's made it through this season has been a minor miracle, considering he only played 10 games combined the previous 2 years. He looks great. Maybe all that time away has kind of refreshed his body. Now next season, I'm going to be leery of McCaffrey because he's going to be pushing 28 years old. A lot of mileage on him, even with the missed time. I'm totally not going to deviate from the 27 and older discrimination against running backs. I violated it this year with Leonard Fournette, and look what happened. Anybody who took Alvin Kamara, look what happened. Joe Mixon, take that one game out, look what happened. Derrick Henry has been good, but lately hasn't, take last week out. He hasn't been good in November and most of December. So I'm not doing that. Even Dalvin Cook hasn't been great either. So I'm going to subscribe to that theory 100% next season. Greg Dulcich or Gerald Everett, not great options, either one. I guess by default, you'd have to say Dulcich because Rip really doesn't have anybody to throw to, whereas Everett is now the fourth target on that Chargers offense. Pick one. Stevenson, if he plays Bam Knight and Burkhead, I'm going to go Bam Knight. They're going to use him a lot. The Detroit defense is not good. And Burkhead has that opportunity to put forth that nuclear game that he did, I believe, in the fantasy championship last season. And, I met Rex Burkhead. I don't know if I ever told you guys that. So I was at Disney, of all places. I was online for Splash Mountain. Anybody who's ever been at Disney knows that ride. They actually just closed it now because they got to refurbish it. This political shit. But I was online for Splash Mountain, and all of a sudden, like some Disney staff members kind of pushed through the side of the line, And I'm, who's that? Usually it means it's a celebrity, right? I look up and it was Rex Burkhead, and his wife and his 2 kids. And what was interesting is that his wife and kids got on the ride, but he didn't. And he went around to the other side and took photos. Like, I don't know if he's a, why would, I don't know why he didn't go on the ride. It was weird. Like, was he afraid of the ride? Like, I mean, it's the big drop. I don't know. I mean, I just thought it was weird, but I actually went up to him and to make sure it was really him. And it was. Shook his hand. He was a nice guy, just small talk and whatever. Nobody knew it was him. I actually took my phone out too to make sure it was him. I was comparing the picture. I was kind of like a freaky fan, if you will. But yeah, so I did met Rex Burkhead, and really nice guy. And when you look at him, he doesn't seem like you wouldn't imagine him being an NFL player. Like, I mean, he's not overly big. He's kind of a stocky guy, but really nice guy. So that was the one that the time I met him at Disney. Some of my league bench George Kittle for Gerald Everett. Yeah, that's pretty bad. McCaffrey's been killed. Yeah, McCaffrey's been really good. I can't say he hasn't been, as much as I panned him during the preseason. To think I almost traded A.J. Brown and Damian Pierce and Fields for CeeDee Lamb for McCaffrey would have been worth it. Yeah, listen, McCaffrey's been great. Here's the thing, though, with CeeDee Lamb. He's overrated every year. Like, we all chase him, including me, and I have him in one league. He's never caught 90 passes. I don't think everybody's like, oh, he's a wide receiver 1. He's right there with Stephon Diggs and Devontae Adams. And no, he's not. Like, I think he's a high-end wide receiver 2. He's been in the league long enough now that he's yet to catch 90 passes. I don't think you could put CeeDee Lamb in that tier. Amon-Ra St. Brown now is a wide receiver 1 for sure. Diggs, Adams, Cooper Kupp, if Stafford comes back, yes. If not, I would even knock him down to wide receiver 2. But CeeDee Lamb is a high-end wide receiver 2 for me. The raw catch numbers, reception numbers are not as good as the other guys. I mean, you could even make the case he's a low-end 1 because A.J. Brown is right there too as a low-end 1. He's never caught 90 passes either. He's kind of a big play guy, runs hot or cold. A.J. Brown's a tough call. Is he a wide receiver 1 or is he more of a 2? You can debate that as well. Alec Pierce or DJ Chark? I guess Pierce, because the Vikings are just awful. And I hate that matchup for Chark against the Jets for sure. Tyler Boyd or Josh Palmer. They're both third receivers. I would say Boyd because I think he has a better chance to catch some passes over Palmer. Last year, CeeDee Lamb was insane. Yeah, but George, I don't think he caught 90 passes, right? And that's like kind of the benchmark that I use for wide receiver 1s. The guy who benched Kittle for Everett has Christian McCaffrey. Yeah, if you had McCaffrey and Kittle, you were sitting pretty yesterday. Couldn't hear Stevenson, Bam Knight, Burkhead. I said Bam Knight. I think Bam Knight is going to get a lot of carries. They're going to want to take the pressure off of Zach Wilson. Bam Knight's the way to go. Lamb isn't number 1. Yeah, I don't think so. I think he's like right there. I really do. I could pull his numbers up right now. He's got 74 catches for 961 and 6 touchdowns. Like, he's never even been at double-digit touchdowns either, right? I don't think so. So, very good player. High-end wide receiver 2, though. Lamb is, yes. Dump Mike White and grab Brady. Yes. Dump Mike White. I don't think he's going to play next week either. Go against Eckler this week. Titans shut him down. George, the Titans defense is very good against the run, but you never shut down Eckler because he catches 1,000 balls out of the backfield. There's been many games this year where he hasn't run the ball well, but he's catching everything out of the backfield. He's top 10 wide receiver, top 15. He's not top 20. I think he's top 10, but I think he's like 8 or 9. Not top 10. I'll take Chase and Jefferson over Lamb. Oh, for sure, 100%. It's Jefferson, Chase 1, 2, Diggs 3, Adams 4. You could even put Amon-Ra St. Brown. Well, no, I'd say Tyreek Hill's 5. Amon-Ra St. Brown probably 6. You could put Kupp 7, Lamb 8. And yes, Kupp, because I don't think Stafford's playing. Yeah, Tyreek Hill, it's just awesome. And that's another guy a lot of people missed out on is Tyreek Hill because we thought he was going to be so bad in Miami with Tua Tagovailoa, and he's been great. Yeah, I'm scared going against Eckler, Mahomes, Godwin, and Hopkins this week. Wow, man. Yeah, George, you're up against it. I don't envy you for that matchup. I definitely don't envy you in that matchup. Flex 1, Barkley, Higgins, or Knight, and Bills or Eagles defense. I say Bills. Miami's still good, though, that offense. I'd say Eagles defense against the Bears. You got to go Eagles defense against the Bears. And as far as the flex, I'm still going Barkley. Chase missed 4 weeks and still the top 15. Yeah, it's on ability alone. He's a top 2-3 guy, Chase. Lawrence, Watson, Ryan, or Tannehill. Lawrence. 100% Trevor Lawrence. At least Hopkins has Colt McCoy throwing him. Eckler gets Titans deep. Got run time. Cole Chiefs could have a run-heavy game. Yeah, I mean, George, that's kind of you trying to convince yourself that you have a chance. No, I'm kidding. You have a chance. You always have a chance. Everybody has a chance in every fantasy matchup. That's just, the nature of the beast. 1 week, set of games, guy gets hurt. All of that stuff could happen to really tilt the game one way or the other. Packers, Cardinals, Steelers, Browns, Bucks. Which defense? I'm leaning Packers. Yeah, I would say that too. I'd agree too. All right, guys, I'm going to have to split now. Good show tonight. Football Friday, another one in the books. ETN or Paris Cam. I'm going to go ETN. So I think that tomorrow, definitely look for that notification. So this will be my first Saturday stream in a really long time. So Fantasy Cast. I might even do 2 Fantasy Casts. I might check in on the Browns Ravens game and then come back for the night game as well. So make sure you check out the notifications to see what time it is. Have a great night, everybody. Enjoy. Make your right lineup decision, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Take care, everyone.